Hey guys, Eddie here with Hypastore.com, and today we're going to be talking about 3 common problems with MS-170 and MS-180 chainsaws.
The Stihl MS-170 and MS-180 have been out for quite a long time, and over the years they've had a few different redesigns that have taken care of a couple minor problems. And if you buy one from a dealer, probably not going to run into too many problems for a few years. This first thing I want to talk about though, and common problems with them, is actually as much a feature as a problem. Many people don't know that many of the MS-180s come with a Easy Start technology. You'll find this on some of the C and all of the C-BE models. What this means is it has a different type of recoil. You only have to put basically half the force into it. You just have to pull it very easily, and the recoil will actually wind itself up and generate more force than your actual pull. If you've ever had an old chainsaw, you know that sometimes you have to jerk on them quite a bit. For older people or people who have weak shoulders, this can be very taxing. The problem here that makes this an issue more than a feature though, is if you don't know about it. Because if you just try to pull this thing and pull this thing like you would a normal chainsaw, you can do some serious damage to the recoil mechanism, which is going to cost you some money. Usually if you buy these from a dealer, they're very good about explaining how it works and how you should and shouldn't pull it. But if you pick one up used and you're not familiar that it has this Easy Start technology, it doesn't say on the outside. It only says it by model number. So if you pick one up and you don't know that it has that and you start yanking on it, you're likely to do quite a bit of damage to the recoil. Even worse, you loan it to your friend and you forget to tell them about the Easy Start, and they yank on it and jerk the recoil apart. So in certain situations, this feature, which is a great feature to have on these saws, it makes it much easier to start, but it can also become an issue. Now the next thing I want to talk about is a real issue with both the MS-180 and MS-170 if you're going to be working on your machine and replacing a carburetor. I actually touched on this problem in a previous video, and I'll put a link in the description as well as a card up here. Where I changed the carburetor on this particular chainsaw. Did not realize at the time that it was potentially as big an issue as it actually is. Another YouTuber with a fairly large subscriber base actually went over this, but I want to review here the problem that I saw when replacing the carburetor on this, and the problem that he has actually run into in his repair work. I'm going to review this sort of the same thing here because I think it's important for people who may want to install a new carburetor on these machines to know this information, because it is very important. Doing this wrong could cost you a lot of money, basically. So Stihl uses a lot of press fit type fittings. Even in the cap here, when you take the cap off, there is tabs. See this tab here, this tab here. They go into this one here and one on the other side. It's a common thing with them. It's not a bad design. However, I think you can see how beefy this tab is. There's a lot of beef there, but the problem is down here. So I've removed the airbox here, and I have a full video on doing a complete carburetor replacement. But I just wanted to show you the weak link here. Part of removing the carburetor, we need to take the throttle lever off, and we have this bar that goes across. This needs to come off to replace your carburetor. This bar actually serves a dual function. It is your choke switch as well as your cutoff switch. This little tab right here actually serves to be a cutoff when it contacts this wire. So the problem in the design here is this tab, this white tab that you can just see here. And I'm going to show it better to you in a minute. But this is the tab you need to be concerned about. This black bar snaps in to that tab, but this tab is not supported underneath. So what people do is they go to take this bar out and they do it with too much force and it snaps that tab. Let's take it apart and let's look what that tab's attached to. First thing I'm going to do is pull the choke back and pull it out, the little choke lever here. We'll pull it out. And then to get this bar out, I'm going to use a long screwdriver, and I'm going to carefully pry directly up, just like that. Then we can remove this bar by pulling sideways, pulling that direction and pulling it out of the way. Alright, with that bar out of the way, I think we can get a good look now of what's happening here. This tab is hardly supported at all until it's back here. So it's sort of cantilevered out here to the outside. It makes it very easy, if you're not careful when removing it or putting it back in, to snap it off. If you snap it off, it is connected to the whole case underneath here. This whole big plastic case, which runs forward. It basically cradles the engine. So if you snap that off, your options are to try to glue it back together, which is probably not going to last, or replace this whole case. And they actually do sell, even in the aftermarket, they sell replacement cases here, probably for just this reason. This was a good catch by Donnie Boy, probably because he's seen it before. But like I say, I did mention that this is a potential problem when I was doing the carburetor replacement, and to be careful with it. Kudos to him for pointing out how bad this actually is. So you saw me remove it there. When going back in, you need to basically do the same thing. You need to put it in this side, get your tab, and just kind of work it under, get it in position, and then push straight down very gently. It will have a little bit of flex to let you do this, but you need to be very careful when doing it. Don't just jerk it out. Now what this also means though is when you're using this switch, you want to make sure that you're a little bit easy with it. If it's at all snagged up, you don't want to go jerking on it and try to unsnag it. You want to figure out what the problem is, because again, if you're in a bind position and you move it the wrong way, you could potentially snap that tab. So the next minor issue that I want to talk about concerns chain installation. So let's go ahead and take this chain off and let me show you what the potential problem is. Now this particular model has the thumb wheel adjuster. So all we need to do to loosen the chain, or slacken the chain, then we can take the chain and bar off as one piece. And that sort of gets into what the problem is. With the stock bar that comes with this saw, the stock 16-inch bar that comes with this saw, it is not possible, as on many saws, to install the chain with the bar on the machine. It just does not have enough room to get on the sprocket and reach over the front of the bar. So the easiest way then to install the bar and chain, and this takes a little practice, is to put the chain on the bar, get it in the grooves, and get it tight. And you have to hold it tight. You don't want any gap like this. So you need to hold it tight in the groove, like so. Stretch it out, put it on the sprocket, and put it on. It's very easy to do that on the bench. However, if you have the saw sitting on a log, or it's in your lap, or you're on the ground, it is very easy to, when you put this on, to have the chain slightly forward on the sprocket. If the chain is slightly forward on the sprocket, it can fall in between this retaining washer and the sprocket itself. It's very easy for the drive teeth underneath to fall into that gap. If you're not paying attention, you know, you're outside, it's hot, it's very easy to get this to where it looks like it's on, like right there, looks like it's on, and you're let's button this up. But as soon as you put any sort of side tension on the bar as you're buttoning it up, it can go right in that groove. So it falls into that space, you don't notice, you put your cover back on. Most people who have experience with chainsaws, as soon as they put a new bar on, and as soon as they start to tension it, they will make sure that the chain lock is off, and they will make sure that the chain is running freely. If you do that, you're going to catch this problem every time. Now, I've had this happen to me. I have absolutely had this happen to me, and because I always make sure that I run the chain
I caught it immediately. It snags up just like this. You'll know it immediately, and you'll say, "Oh, something's wrong." Take the cover back off, and there's the problem. It is slipped down between the sprocket and the retaining. All you have to do is push it back, make sure it's pushed back all the way, and then put your cover on, and make sure you don't do that. Don't flex the bar at all when you're putting the cover back on. Just put the cover back on. And you can see that that turns nice and free. If you were to tension your chain and start the saw with it off the sprocket, it would ruin your chain, it would ruin your sprocket probably. But if you always make sure that before you start the saw, you make sure that the chain is running free, you shouldn't have any problems.
Hypastore.com has a full line of products for your Stihl saws. Chains to carburetors, fuel caps, ignition coils, you'll find it all at Hypastore.com. Also check out our Facebook group. It's Hypa DIY Community. It's a great place for you to let us know what you like and dislike about Hypa parts. And it's also a place where you can save money because we'll be running promotions there, giving away gift cards, giving away discount codes. So check us out at Hypa DIY Community. As always guys, I appreciate you watching and we'll see you next time.